Hello. It's been a while. A lot has changed. There was a big period of time where a lot happened in the world. I'll go into that another time. I wanted to do this video just to say I'd like to start uploading some content to YouTube again, and I'd like to use this space. But to start doing that again, I think the best way is to draw a line under everything from before. Sort of say there's a clean slate in some sense. There's then grown some wonderful new moss on top. A lot has changed about my views, my opinions, my thoughts, my feelings, my ideas. So I would probably disagree with what a lot of I said before, and argue against it and have some better arguments for things, as well as having better ideas. So I could say that I could probably argue against a lot of my old opinions and views. And then other ones that I do still stand by, I could probably support a lot better now, because I've probably developed them a lot more. And I feel myself as an individual have grown, matured, and probably can articulate a lot of what I had to say better. But I wouldn't go back and watch my old content. I don't think I'd get any value from that. Probably a lot to just cringe at. But I've got new ideas, new thoughts, new feelings, and I write them down and I discuss them with friends, but I want them out somewhere that can be found. And I could go through a period of doing this for a while, and then in another half a decade go, oh, don't listen to anything that guy said. Because I very much view myself as a different individual now. I'll give like a small timeline. When we started recording the original Voices from the Void series of weekly podcast sort of thing we were doing, Lewis, my co-host, and I'm Adam. We're both a pair of nobodies, and that's the most important thing. What we say is not important in a sense, and I never expect anyone to put a lot of weight in anything I say. But we would always have lots of discussions. As like, hey, we could be recording this, and we both agreed. We both wanted to do that. We both wanted to create some content, not for the sake of fame or monetizing it or trying to sort of become popular, thinking that anything we were saying was new, original, anything of great value that would shake the world up. But it's the internet. It's a place for ideas. Why not lay ours out there? So I had just separated from my wife when we started recording, and I went through quite a clean divorce, as clean as they can be. No, none of it's perfect, but I came out the other side feeling better for everything. I was given a nice no-fault divorce from my side, and moved on with my life. But that was all sort of happening while we were recording, and then just shortly after our last recording, one of the main sort of mechanisms, the catalyst for why we stopped, was Lewis unfortunately lost his wife suddenly, and so upon having the world shaken and rocked, and throwing any sort of hope of sort of routine, being able to get together and record, him having to sort of become solely responsible for running his household and everything, we put a halt in it all, which for a few months was just our own choice. And then 2020 happened, and we all know what went down there. So that would have really halted our ability to sort of get together for a while anyway. But I feel like I've had a great deal of change in my life since then. So I think what I'll do is I'll make a series of videos just sort of chronicling some of that. Not because I feel it's important, not because I think anyone cares, but someone could find it, it could be of some interest. At least gets it out there. So with that, I'll say I'm a nice line to go from where we were on our old video content, and from this point I'll start uploading some sort of like chronological series of events and where that took me, because I can only speak for myself. And I like to think that sometime soon maybe we'll start making some content with Lewis and I together, co-hosting as we did before. It might be a lot more coherent. It'll be a lot more out there because before I was playing the political game, I was very much sucked into that world. It was really sort of ramped up for a few years. I always say sort of 2015, 2016 was when it really sort of kicked off. So we had a few years of, this is all building, and riding on other political YouTubers and their daily content and all of that was something that consumed my life, because I thought, well, I have to know what's going on, and I have to see it with my eyes and experience some views, and I took my sides, and I went as far as falling into the political game of getting really sucked into British politics as well as American politics. Really cared about it. Like, it would weigh on me so heavily. I would get depressed over it, I'd get angry over it, I'd get sad over it. And I look back now and I find that hilarious, to sort of be there doing that. But the spell sort of broke, and my life changed because of it. So I don't think I would do any more political commentary going forward. It's more going to be philosophy and personal experience, and where I've developed ideas and things like that with more of a spiritual twist on it. And I think that going forward, any content, I would probably more lean that way. I feel that has a greater deal of importance to me now. I think it's more important to like the state of the world, in the grand scheme, in the sense that my view now is politics is this weird pantomime that society does, as part of the government system to look important, and I don't give any of it any value anymore, really. The influences in my lives now are people who their content was really apolitical in most senses. People like Alan Watts. It's probably my biggest influence in my life now, and his ideas and philosophies really drove me over the past few years. Other spiritualists like Ram Dass have given me a lens to look through that I don't fully subscribe to, but it's a great way to go, we can dabble with these ideas and these cultures from the other part of the world that seem to make way more sense to me now than they ever could have before, and solve a lot of the problems we have. There's a current philosopher, it's the cognitive scientist John Vervaeke, who's actively doing fantastic work, and a great influence as well over the past few years. I've spent a lot of time consuming his lectures and his ideas and sort of his systems that he works with, because I think they're brilliant. None of us are right all the time, but this is a guy who's sort of going, well, let's dodge the main political game and look at the real problems of the world, and that is his main thing, is the lack of meaning in people's lives and what that's created to lead us to have these political problems, and the absolute sort of torrent of what's going on in people's lives because of that. So those have been some of my biggest influences. I've studied some of the old greats, like Young, not a lot, but enough to get the ideas and sort of a little bit of the language set and a little bit of understanding of it. The Greek philosophers, Socrates, Antisthenes, Plato, and what they gave us. Dabbled in a tiny little bit of Marcus Aurelius and sort of the good ideas that are all there. So those have all been new influences on me since 2019, when I was last actively doing anything like this. So content going forward is probably going to have a lot more of that level of philosophy in it, rather than what's gone on this week, what's going on with politics, everything like that. because that's all behind me now. I can say I'll keep an eye on it every now and then, but it's a little bit of a side glance. I don't want to stare at this too long. I get uncomfortable looking at it. So if you stumble back upon this is a good way to start off again.